If you ask me, the most dangerous part of this whole mess is not the lie everybody thinks they are looking at. It is the lie hiding underneath it. It seems like Cassius being passed off as Nathan would already be the kind of soap disaster that could blow a hole through Port Charles, but I do not think that is the real bomb at all. I think the real bomb is this. Cassius may not be the end of the story. He may be the cover story. And once that starts to sink in, the truth might be exposed in a way no one expected. Because think about what this really means. If Cassius is only pretending to be Nathan, or if other people are helping him keep that identity alive, then somebody out there must have a much bigger reason for protecting the illusion. That means that Liesel and Jocelyn are not just standing inside a simple hostage nightmare. They could be standing at the edge of a much larger conspiracy, one that has been simmering under the surface for a long time, waiting for the right moment to explode. And in this kind of story, the quietest detail is usually the one with the sharpest teeth. I keep coming back to the same idea. Could it be that Cassius is not hiding from the world, but hiding the world from something? That is where this turns deliciously twisted. If Cassius truly wanted to disappear, he would have vanished cleanly. But if he is letting himself be seen as Nathan, then I think that means he is intentionally planting a false image. He is giving everyone a person to grieve, a person to recognize, a person to believe in. And while everyone stares at that mask, the real secret slips sideways into the dark. That is why the dynamic between Liesel and Jocelyn matters so much. On the surface, it seems like two women trapped in the same nightmare would naturally clash. They are not built to trust each other. Not really. Liesel has her instincts, her pride, her ferocious need to control the board. Jocelyn has her own steel, but she also has that dangerous mix of compassion and suspicion that can make her impossible to predict. Put them together in a crisis, and suddenly neither one can keep the whole truth to herself. One of them will notice a crack. The other one of them will ask the question nobody else is brave enough to ask. And once that happens, everything changes. I think Jocelyn is the one most likely to start pulling at the threads. Not because she is the most experienced, but because she is the least emotionally invested in preserving the fantasy. Liesel may want to protect what she thinks she has found. Jocelyn, on the other hand, could begin to realize that protecting Cassius means protecting a lie that is already breeding other lies. That means that every time she agrees to keep quiet, she may be helping to build a prison around the truth. And if she is smart, she will understand that the truth might be exposed whether she wants it or not. Now, here is where it gets really messy. If Cassius is indeed more than he appears, then someone else has to know. There is almost always a second witness in these stories, a shadow player who knows just enough to keep the trap set. Maybe it is Sidwell, maybe it is Cullum, maybe it is somebody else entirely tucked away off camera, but I do not believe for 1 second that this kind of identity game survives on one person alone. It needs handlers. It needs pressure. It needs incentives. It needs a reason. And the reason may not be loyalty at all. The reason could be leverage. That is the word I keep hearing in my head. Leverage. Because once you start talking about fake identities, hidden survival, secret returns, and carefully managed cover-ups, then nothing is really about love alone. It is about who has power over whom. It is about who can destroy whom faster. It is about who is holding the card that could ruin a family, a legacy, or an entire future. And in that sense, Liesel may not be protecting Cassius because she is naive. She may be protecting him because she senses that letting the truth out would unleash something even worse. Could it be that Liesel already suspects Nathan is not the whole story? I think that is absolutely possible. She is too sharp to miss the emotional oddities. If someone looks like Nathan but carries the wrong energy, the wrong memories, the wrong fear, the wrong silence, Liesel would notice. She may not have the full answer, but she would know when the shape of a soul does not match the face on it. And if she senses that Cassius is connected to a deeper secret, then her instinct would not be to expose him. It would be to control the narrative before someone else does. That is where her feelings become important. If Liesel sees a son where everyone else sees an imposter, then this is no longer just a cover-up. It becomes emotional self-preservation. She may tell herself she is protecting Cassius, but I think she is also protecting the fragile possibility that she has not lost everything. Because if Nathan is truly gone and Cassius is only a substitute, then she is being asked to mourn twice. Once for the man she lost, and once for the fantasy of getting him back. That is a brutal kind of heartbreak, and soap operas adore that kind of brutality. Jocelyn, though, she is the wild card in all of this. She is the person most likely to ask whether keeping the secret is really worth the cost. And I do not just mean the cost to her conscience. I mean the cost to James, the cost to anyone who would be crushed if this lie blows apart in public, the cost to everyone who has been living near this story without knowing they are standing on a mine. If Jocelyn starts to see Cassius as both a danger and a victim, then she could become the one person with enough empathy to do the wrong thing for the right reasons. That is the kind of choice that soap writers love. I also think there is a very real chance that Jocelyn may not trust the story she is being told about Nathan in the first place. It seems like every time someone tries to lock down a clean version of the truth, another detail wriggles free. That is exactly how bigger mysteries behave. They do not stay neat. They leak. They leave residue. They make people lie in awkward ways. And once Jocelyn starts noticing that the story has too many seams, she may conclude that Cassius is not merely playing Nathan. He might be standing in front of the real answer like a human decoy. And that creates a deliciously unstable possibility. Nathan might still be alive somewhere. No one expected that possibility to become the engine of the whole story. But that is precisely why it works so well. Because if Nathan is alive, then Cassius is not just a fake identity. He is a wall blocking access to the truth. If Nathan is alive, then somebody has gone to extraordinary lengths to bury him. If Nathan is alive, then every sentimental moment, every stunned reaction, every protective instinct around Cassius becomes instantly more poisonous. The whole emotional structure collapses and rebuilds itself into something meaner, stranger, and far more dangerous. And even if Nathan is not alive in the literal sense, the idea of him being alive could still be the perfect weapon. That is another thing I keep considering. Maybe the secret is not that Nathan is walking around somewhere. Maybe the secret is that somebody wants people to believe he is. Maybe Cassius exists as a replacement because the replacement itself is useful. It gives the wrong family hope. It diverts suspicion. It keeps certain enemies distracted. It turns grief into a smokescreen. That means the lie is not just personal. It is strategic. If that is the case, then we are not watching a rescue story at all. We are watching a long con built from identity, grief, and the desperate human need to believe in return. And if you ask me, that is much more powerful than a simple missing person twist. It means every person involved could be both victim and accomplice. Liesel could be shielding a son she never got to know. Jocelyn could be bargaining with a secret she barely understands. Cassius could be a man who built a life by standing in the wreckage of someone else's name. That kind of setup is fertile ground for betrayal. The emotional fallout would be huge. If the truth breaks open, then Liesel would not just lose control. She would lose the story she used to keep herself upright. Jocelyn would be forced to decide whether her silence made her complicit. Cassius would have to face the terrifying possibility that whatever protection he gained from the lie will vanish the second the mask comes off. And everybody else around them would be left reeling from the realization that they had been reacting to a ghost, or worse, to a ghost story built by someone with a very specific agenda. That is why I think the next turn could be monstrous in the best possible soap way. Jocelyn may try to preserve the secret at first, only to discover that keeping it hidden only strengthens the people who created it. Liesel may believe she is buying time, but time may be the very thing that lets the truth rot from the inside. Cassius may think he is controlling the narrative, but narratives have a way of turning predator once they smell fear. And once the wrong person gets a whisper of this, the whole illusion could come apart at the seams. What would happen then? Maybe the identity of Nathan gets challenged in public. Maybe someone from his past appears and notices what is off. Maybe James asks one question too many, and suddenly every adult in the room has to choose between honesty and damage control. Or maybe, and this is the most painful option of all, the truth is exposed in a smaller, more intimate way. Not with a blast, but with a glance. Not with a confession, but with recognition. That kind of reveal can hurt far more because it leaves nobody room to hide. And that brings me to the question sitting at the center of all this. If Cassius is only the shell, then who is inside the secret? And who is really pulling the strings? Because the moment we answer that, we do not just learn who Nathan is or is not. We learn who has been willing to sacrifice everyone else in order to keep the lie alive. And once that door opens, I do not think anybody in Port Charles is going to like what comes through.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.